10 country songs you know by heart, and every single one got turned down first. By another singer, sometimes a bigger name, who had it in their hands and said no. You've heard Crazy. You've heard Friends in Low Places. But one of these was supposed to be Patsy Cline's, and she died before she got the chance. Stay with me. This one's got some real ones in it.
17, the hot July.
Number 10, I Fall to Pieces. Patsy Cline, 1961. We're starting with a song that's basically the blueprint for everything on this list. I Fall to Pieces. Before Patsy Cline ever touched this song, it got turned down twice. Written by Hank Cochran and Harlan Howard, pitched around Nashville by producer Owen Bradley, and the first person to hear it was Brenda Lee. Brenda Lee, teenage pop sensation, already a bona fide star, and she passed on it. She thought it was too country for her own pop style. You've heard that reasoning before, right? An artist standing right next to the exact thing that would change everything and saying, "That's not who I am." So Bradley moves on, takes it to Roy Drusky, a rising country star at the time, somebody Nashville had real hopes for. And here's where it gets a little absurd. Drusky thought it wasn't a man's song. He said no, because he didn't want to sing about that kind of heartbreak, didn't think it fit him. And if you've ever watched somebody talk themselves out of the one thing that would have changed their whole life, just because it didn't match the image they'd built for themselves in their own head. You know exactly how that goes. Then, and this is the part I love every time I tell it, Patsy Cline overheard the whole argument happening in the hallway and asked if she could record it instead. She wasn't even part of that conversation. She just happened to be standing there at the right second. It still wasn't easy from there. Even Cline herself wasn't fully sold at first. She felt the song leaned too pop for her own sound, which is almost funny, considering that's the exact opposite of what Brenda Lee said about it. Two artists, same song, completely opposite complaints, but Bradley pushed her through the sessions anyway, and by August of 1961, I Fall to Pieces became Cline's first #1 on the country chart. Her first. After 6 long years of grinding through a career that hadn't quite broken open yet. Nobody standing in that hallway had any idea they were witnessing the birth of a country standard. That's the thing about every song on this list. The rejection isn't the twist. In this town, the rejection is just Tuesday. Number 9, Rhinestone Cowboy, Glenn Campbell, 1975. This story is stranger than you remember it being. Songwriter Larry Weiss wrote it and recorded it himself first, back in 1974. It went basically nowhere, a small blip on the easy listening chart, and that was it, headed for the bargain bin of forgotten songs. So Weiss starts shopping it around town, hoping somebody with a real voice picks it up. And you will not believe who turns it down first. Elvis Presley passed on it. The king himself had the chance and let it go. But here's the one that really gets me. The one I think about every time this song comes on. Weiss also pitched it to David Allan Coe, the outlaw country singer who at that exact moment was performing under the nickname The Mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy. Coe had gotten his rhinestone suits from Mel Tillis, started wearing them on stage, and fans started asking for his autograph and calling him that very name. The song had his own persona written right into the chorus, and he still said no. Coe said he just didn't feel comfortable singing about himself. Sit with that one for a second. A song practically tailor-made for him, sitting right there in his hands, and he waved it off because it felt a little too much like looking in a mirror. Nice guys get washed away like. That's a specific kind of self-sabotage. turning down the exact thing that fits you, because it fits you a little too well. Meanwhile, Glenn Campbell's just driving around Los Angeles, minding his own business, and he hears Weiss's original version playing on some late-night album cut station. Something about the story of struggle and chasing dreams hit him deep, and he knew right then he had to cut it. Even then, it wasn't a sure thing. Capitol wasn't convinced. The single sat on a shelf for a while. It took Campbell performing it live on a telethon just to get any traction at all, and then it exploded. #1 on both the pop and the country charts at the same time. The best-selling single of Campbell's entire career, bigger than anything he'd done before or after.
Well, I really don't mind the rain.
And David Allan Coe? He spent the rest of his life half joking about it on stage, telling crowds, "I've always been the Rhinestone cowboy. I don't care what Glenn Campbell has to say." You can be standing right next to a legacy and still let it walk straight past you without ever reaching out to grab it.
They short like me.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
#8, Delta Dawn, Tanya Tucker, 1972. 13 years old. That's how old Tanya Tucker was when she walked into a studio and cut the song that would launch her entire career. But this song had already been passed around like a hot potato, long before she ever laid a hand on it. It started with Alex Harvey, who co-wrote it and recorded it first, for his own album, in his own voice. His backup singer, Tracy Nelson, started performing it live in her own solo sets. And sitting in the audience one night, in New York City, was a young, unknown singer named Bette Midler, who fell completely in love with the song on the spot. Midler added it to her own live repertoire and decided it was going on her debut album. So you'd think Midler locks it up, right? Not quite. Nashville producer Billy Sherrill caught her performing it on The Tonight Show and wanted her badly. But Midler was already locked into a deal with Atlantic Records, and Sherrill couldn't touch her. So instead, Sherrill takes the song and hands it to a 13-year-old he'd just signed. That's how close this song came to never becoming a country hit at all. But here's the wait what moment, the one most people never hear about. When Helen Reddy's producer went to build his own competing version of the song afterward, he offered it first to Barbra Streisand. Streisand, arguably one of the biggest voices in American music at that exact point in time. And she passed on it too, just didn't want it. And whatever her version might have sounded like, it never exists. It's just gone, before it ever started. So it's Tucker's, at 13 years old, that climbs to #6 on the country chart and turns her into a star before she's even old enough to drive a car. And Bette Midler? She still put her own recording out, but a scheduling fight over release dates meant Helen Reddy's competing pop version actually hit shelves 2 days before Midler's did, and Midler ended up pulling her single entirely, scrambling to promote her B-side instead. 3 grown artists circling the same song. A teenager walks off with it. And honestly, I'd argue nobody's ever sung the weariness in that opening line quite like Tucker did at 13 years old. Some of y'all already know exactly which line I mean, and you're nodding right now. If you were listening to country radio in the spring of '72, you already know how strange it felt hearing a kid's voice carry something that heavy. #7, Strawberry Wine, Deonna Carter, 1996. Here's the thing that always stops people cold about this one. It wasn't rejected once. It was rejected by nearly everybody who ever heard it. Matraka Berg wrote it with Gary Harrison, pulling straight from her own childhood, summers spent with her grandmother in Wisconsin, sneaking around with cousins, drinking cheap wine they weren't supposed to touch, getting sick and laughing about it after.
I still remember.
She wrote the whole thing in about 3 or 4 hours flat. That part came easy to her. Getting it recorded didn't come easy at all. Labels considered the song too long, considered it controversial because it referenced a teenage girl's first time, and said flat out it wasn't catchy enough for radio. Here's the thing about Nashville in that era. A song about a girl's sexual awakening, sung tender instead of scandalous, made a lot of powerful people nervous. Too honest, too slow. Not built for a 3-minute radio format, they said. Everybody passed on it, including Trisha Yearwood.
Like strawberry wine.
Trisha Yearwood, one of the greatest vocalists of her entire generation, a woman who'd already stacked up massive hits by that point, and even she looked at Strawberry Wine and said no thank you. I'd argue that's one of the most underrated passes in the whole history of this genre, because this wasn't some flawed song sitting around waiting for the right ears to find it.
Green on the vine.
Every single ear in Nashville had already heard it, clean, and shrugged it off anyway. Then a newcomer named Deanna Carter shows up to a showcase in 1995, and she's the only artist who actually bothers to come. She hears the demo and connects with it instantly, despite everything already working against it.
Taste of love, whoa, bittersweet.
It becomes the lead single off her debut album, climbs all the way to #1, wins Song of the Year at the CMAs, gets voted Song of the Year by the actual Songwriters Association, the people who know better than anyone alive what a good song is supposed to sound like.
Bittersweet, but green on the vine.
And whether Yearwood regrets it or not, I'll let you decide that one for yourself. But if you were 16 the summer this song hit the radio, and you already know exactly which back road it takes you straight back to, you already know why it landed the way it did.
Here I come back to this place.
Number 6, Achy, Breaky Heart, Billy Ray Cyrus, 1992. The story underneath this song is a lot more interesting than the line dance it eventually inspired. Songwriter Don Von Tress wrote it, originally titled Don't Tell My Heart. First stop, the Oak Ridge Boys, a legitimate country music Hall of Fame act with real weight behind their name. They passed on it before the Marcy Brothers ever got their hands on it, and by most accounts, it was lead singer Dwayne Allen who just flat out didn't like the phrase achy breaky. Sounded too silly to him, too cute for a group with the reputation they'd built. Then it goes to Ronnie Milsap, another proven hitmaker, another pass. Here's what's wild about this one. This song got turned down by 2 of the most respected names working in the genre before anybody with less name recognition ever even got a fair shot at it. The Marcy Brothers finally recorded it in 1991, released it as Don't Tell My Heart, and it went absolutely nowhere at all. The album flopped so hard the group broke up not long after, dead end. Nobody left whose job it was to save this song at that point. Then Billy Ray Cyrus, 30 years old, broke, living out of his Chevy Beretta, years deep into a Nashville grind that hadn't paid off yet in any real way, finally hears it. Before the chorus was even over, he stood straight up and said, "That's me. That's all the music I was raised on." He wasn't looking at a novelty song. He was looking at the one thing that finally matched exactly who he actually was underneath everything else. And here's what's worse than just passing on a hit. The Oak Ridge Boys and Ronnie Milsap didn't just miss a fun little song. They missed the version of it that a broke, unknown singer turned into an entire cultural moment. #1 on the country chart, real crossover success on pop radio, and a legacy that outlasted every joke anybody ever made about it over the years. That's a different kind of loss than most. Not losing the song itself, but losing the version of yourself that could have broken through with it, and having to watch somebody else find that version instead, right in front of you. Number 5, Blue, LeAnn Rimes, 1996. This is the one I've genuinely been building toward, because this isn't about somebody saying no. This is about somebody who never even got the chance to say yes. Bill Mack wrote Blue back in 1958, recorded it himself, and it went nowhere at all. For years, the song just sat there, gathering dust. And the way the story usually gets told, people say he wrote it specifically for Patsy Cline. Mack himself always denied that, said flat out, "I didn't write it for Patsy. I never wrote one for anybody." But here's what's actually true. Mack's friend Roy Drusky, yeah, the same Roy Drusky who turned down I Fall to Pieces and Crazy both, suggested Mack pitch the song to Patsy Cline directly. So Mack gave a tape to Cline's husband, Charlie Dick. And Cline heard it. According to Mack, she loved it right away. "Send that thing to me. I like it," she told him backstage. And that was as far as it ever got. Because in March of 1963, Patsy Cline's plane went down. She never made it back into a studio to record it. A song waiting patiently on a voice that would never come back for it. What do you even do with a song like that? You don't throw it away. You don't force it onto somebody else out of pure desperation just to see it recorded. You just hold on to it. For decades, if that's what it takes. Mack held that song for over 30 years, through a handful of other failed attempts. A country singer here, a stray demo there, nothing that ever managed to stick. Then in the early 90s, Mack gets a phone call from a manager working with a 9-year-old girl out of Texas. "Do you have any more #1 hits just lying around?" She asked him, and Mack said, "Well, maybe for you." That girl was LeAnn Rimes, 13 years old by the time it finally hit radio in 1996. And the second people heard that yodel, that ache sitting underneath her voice, everybody said the exact same thing. She sounds just like Patsy Cline. Which, given everything this song had already been through, feels less like a coincidence and more like something quietly closing a circle that started over 30 years earlier in a hallway in Nashville. Blue made Rimes one of the youngest Grammy winners in history. And somewhere inside all of it is a truth I think about a lot. Sometimes the person a song was waiting for isn't the person who ends up singing it. Sometimes the song just has to wait long enough for the right voice to be born into the world. If that one hit you a little different than the rest, you're not alone. Number 4, Crazy, Patsy Cline, 1961. Written by a struggling songwriter named Willie Nelson. Yeah, that Willie Nelson. Back before anybody outside of Nashville even knew his name. Nelson wrote it in early 1961 and first gave it to his roommate, a singer named Billy Walker.
You'd leave me for somebody new.
Walker cut a demo of it for Starday Records, and the label turned it down flat, saying it wouldn't sell. Same reasoning as always in this town. Somebody sitting behind a desk deciding they know better than the song does.
For trying and crazy for crying.
Willie Nelson originally wrote Crazy, and it got turned down for the same reason Roy Drusky turned down I Fall to Pieces the year before. Because it was, in their words, a girl's song. 2 different men, 2 entirely different songs. The exact same tired excuse.
I'm crazy.
This town had a real habit of deciding a heartbreak ballad belonged to one gender and not the other. No exceptions, so Nelson stuck. Struggling songwriter, no hit of his own to his name yet. One night at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, He plays a scratchy little recording of himself singing it for a man named Charlie Dick.
Then my love could hold you.
Dick liked it so much, he drove Nelson straight to his own house at 1 a.m. and woke his wife up just to make her listen to it, with Nelson waiting outside in the car the whole time. Charlie Dick's wife was Patsy Cline. Even then, nothing about it was simple. Cline was still recovering from a horrific car accident that had left her hospitalized for weeks straight.
Crazy for thinking.
She was still in real pain, still couldn't hit certain notes with her usual power and control. They had to shelve the session entirely. She came back days later and nailed the whole performance in one single take, every leap and every dramatic pause landing exactly right. And you know what's strange?
For trying and crazy for crying.
There was still a hold on the song even after all that. Billy Walker technically still had first rights to release it, even after turning it down flat. Had to be bought out with an entirely different song, just to clear the path forward. Crazy became a signature hit, and, decades later, one of the single most jukebox songs in all of American history.
As you wanted.
Willie Nelson went from a struggling writer sleeping on somebody's couch to a living legend off the back of a song two different men turned down for sounding too much like a woman's heartbreak. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about how this town used to decide what counted as strong enough to sing, I honestly don't know what will.
You'd love me as long.
Number 3, The Gambler, Kenny Rogers, 1978. Don Schlitz wrote it back in 1976, inspired partly by thinking about his own father, who had passed away that same year. He shopped the song around Nashville for 2 solid years afterward. Nobody would touch it. Bobby Bare finally recorded it first, in 1978, tucked quietly away on an album. Never even released as a single. Barely made a ripple anywhere. Schlitz got so tired of waiting around that he ended up recording it himself, and even his own version only climbed to number 65 on the chart. That's the man who wrote the thing, and even he couldn't make it stick.
And then someday.
Then Willie Nelson gets a crack at it, and he passes on it too. Said flat out it had too many verses, and he didn't want to weigh down his own set with another long song. Willie Nelson, the same man who couldn't get Crazy off the ground a few entries back, and now here he is, the one saying no to somebody else's chance.
As you wanted.
Then it lands with Johnny Cash. Cash actually goes ahead and records it, but he's deep in a rough stretch of his life at the time, struggling hard with substance abuse and clashing with the producer over his own dislike of the song. His version does technically end up on his album Gone Girl.
You'd love me as long.
But it's an afterthought, buried deep in the track list, nowhere close to becoming a single. That's 4 separate artists, 4 real chances, and the song is still just sitting there, unclaimed in any meaningful way, drifting from hand to hand. Then Kenny Rogers steps in, working with that same producer, and something finally clicks that hadn't clicked for anybody else who touched it. He records it that June, releases it that November, and it becomes the song that defines the rest of his entire career. Number 1 on the country chart, a Grammy.
Loving you.
5 television movies eventually built around the character he brought to life in 3.5 minutes flat. Here's what gets me about this one, if I'm honest. It's not that everybody else who passed on it was wrong. Bear's version holds up fine. Cash's is genuinely haunting if you've ever actually sat down and listened to it.
Oh, crazy.
It's that none of them were the right voice at the right exact moment. And Rogers just happened to walk through the door at the precise second the song needed somebody who could turn a stranger's advice on a train into something that sounded like it actually mattered to your whole life.
I'm crazy for trying. And
If you've ever watched something pass through a dozen capable hands before finally landing exactly where it was always supposed to be, You already know that feeling isn't really about talent at all. It's about timing. Number 2, Friends in Low Places, Garth Brooks, 1990.
Places where the whiskey drowns and the beer jams.
Written by Dwayne Blackwell and Earl Bud Lee back in 1989, after Lee cracked a joke at a restaurant that he had friends in low places, meaning he knew the cook, so he wasn't worried about forgetting his wallet at the table. That one offhand joke turned into one of the biggest sing-alongs in the entire history of country music. But here's what most people never hear about this song. Brooks himself has said the writers first hoped George Strait would be the one to record it.
As high as that ivory tower.
He wanted it so badly that when he came in to sing the original demo, he did his very best George Strait impression on it before he'd even signed a record deal of his own. Think about that for a second. The song that would go on to become entirely, unmistakably Garth Brooks. And the demo of it was originally recorded in another man's voice, on purpose.
Give me an hour and day again. Love
Strait passed, just took one look at it and moved right along without a second thought. So the song sits there in limbo. Brooks asks the writers if he can hold on to it for his second album, since his first one was already locked and loaded and ready to go. They say yes without hesitating for even a second.
Hey, I didn't mean to cause a big scene.
But in the meantime, 2 other artists get their hands on it while he's forced to wait. David Wayne Chamberlain releases his own version in 1989. Mark Chesnutt records it too, right around that same stretch, tucking it onto his album Too Cold at Home. Neither version comes anywhere close to what was still waiting to happen. You know what's worse than simply getting turned down? Watching 2 other people record your song while you're stuck sitting on the sidelines, knowing deep down it's supposed to be yours, and having zero control over whether somebody else gets there first and takes it from you entirely. But Brooks holds his ground and waits out the full year and a half, records it for No Fences, releases it in August of 1990, and it spends 4 straight weeks at number 1. Wins Song of the Year at both the ACMs and the CMAs that year. Becomes so synonymous with Brooks himself that he ends up naming an actual bar after it decades later, right in the heart of downtown Nashville. And George Strait, the man who could have owned this song outright, just let it walk right past him without a second glance. I've said something close to this about a couple of these already, but I'd argue this might be the clearest example on the whole list of a genuine superstar looking dead straight at a legacy-defining song and simply not seeing what was right in front of him.
Hey, I didn't mean to cause a big scene.
Number 1, Sand in My Boots, Morgan Wallen, 2021.
Love Eastern Tennessee. Yeah, but all I brought back.
I wanted to end here on purpose, because I think it matters that you understand this isn't just some relic locked away in the 60s or the 70s. This exact thing, a genuine star looking dead at a hit song and saying no to it, is still happening right now, in real time, close enough to touch.
Something about the way she kissed me till she...
Sand in My Boots was written by Hardy, Josh Osborne, and Ashley Gorley. And before it ever reached Morgan Wallen, it went to Luke Bryan first. 26 number 1s already sitting under his belt at that point in his career. A guy who genuinely knows how to spot a hit song when he hears one.
Oh, desperado, way to ride back to my roots.
He turned it down anyway. And here's the reason, which is honestly one of the strangest ones on this entire list. The song mentions a sunburnt Silverado in the chorus, a Chevrolet truck, plain and simple. And that single detail was enough to make Bryan pass on the whole thing. Not because the song was weak, because he was actively trying to move away from truck songs at that exact moment in his career, genuinely worried about getting pegged as a one-trick pony for the rest of his career. Want to know the strangest part of all? He later admitted it himself, on a podcast, years afterward, that he stupidly passed on it. His own word, not mine, sitting right there in the interview.
She left the flip-flops by my Red Wings on.
So the song goes to Wallen instead, becomes the third single off Dangerous, hits country radio in the middle of one of the roughest, most publicly scrutinized stretches of his entire career, and still manages to climb all the way to become his fifth #1 on the country airplay chart. Goes double platinum.
Morning, and she told me I was crazy, yeah.
Gets so deeply tied to his identity as an artist that he eventually names his own music festival after it. And Luke Bryan, he's out there on a podcast in 2025, laughing about how a single mention of a truck talked him clean out of a career-defining hit song. Not because the song didn't move him when he first heard it.
I said, made me.
Because he was scared of how it might look, scared of confirming what he already suspected people thought about him. That's a different kind of loss than a lot of what we've covered here tonight. It's not Nashville rejecting somebody from the outside. It's not a label underestimating a song they didn't understand.
Oh.
It's an artist quietly talking himself out of the exact thing that came most naturally to him, purely because he was afraid of what it might say about him. And if you've ever second-guessed the thing that felt most like you, just because you were scared of being boxed into it forever, you already know exactly how that feels, don't you?